Congresswoman, considering that you arrived upon American soil as a refugee and that this nation has graciously provided you with every conceivable opportunity, what is the driving force behind the intense animosity you appear to harbor toward it? The weight of the inquiry hung heavily within the atmosphere, causing the Senate hearing chamber to descend into a profound and absolute silence, a stillness so deep that even the stenographer paused in her duties, frozen in the moment. Vice President J.D. Vance remained perfectly motionless, his posture reflecting the disciplined rigidity of a Marine. His gaze locked unwaveringly on Representative Ilhan Omar, projecting the calm focus of a man who had endured months in combat zones and understood the gravity of this specific encounter. Omar shifted in the witness seat, the confident aura she typically projected, a confidence forged in the fires of countless televised debates and battles on Fox News, flickering briefly, just long enough for the camera lenses to capture the hesitation. C-SPAN was not the sole broadcaster capturing this unfolding event. Every major network had abruptly suspended their regular programming to feature the hearing, creating a chaotic split-screen spectacle on cable news, while social media platforms erupted with commentary and speculation. This scenario was entirely unprecedented and was never supposed to unfold in this manner. The hearing, originally intended to highlight the triumphant successes of refugee resettlement, was designed to serve as a routine platform for Omar to showcase positive narratives. Instead, the vice president, a Marine veteran and an Appalachian success story who held the distinction of being the youngest VP in modern history, had transformed the proceedings into something fundamentally different. The gallery was visibly polarized. On the left side sat progressive activists donning hijabs in solidarity and holding signs welcoming refugees, while on the right side sat veterans in formal dress uniforms, their service medals gleaming under the lights, standing in support of the man posing the questions. Positioned between these opposing factions were Somali-American refugees, not political activists, but genuine individuals who had built businesses, joined the military, and harbored a deep love for America, all watching and waiting with bated breath. Real people who had constructed their lives and businesses from nothing, joined the armed forces, and cherished the United States were watching and waiting for the proceedings to continue. Senator Grassley leaned toward his microphone to break the tension, stating, "Vice President Vance, the witness has been duly sworn in. You may proceed with your questioning." Vance did not move immediately, allowing the silence to crescendo, compelling the nation to lean forward in anticipation. When he finally spoke, his tone was measured and almost gentle, as he thanked the chairman and directed his attention to the folders arranged. Before him, stacks of government documents, public records, and FEC filings 3 inches thick, representing evidence that could not be dismissed. Congresswoman, I wish to commence these proceedings by acknowledging a fundamental truth. Your personal history is undeniably remarkable, spanning from a refugee camp in Kenya to arriving here at age 12, being naturalized at 17, and ascending to Congress by 36, Vance stated. It is undeniably an incredible journey by any standard, he continued, causing Omar to relax slightly as this felt like familiar, complimentary territory. By any metric, you embody the potential of the American dream, the promise that any individual can arrive here and succeed, he said, before pausing to select the first folder, which is precisely why the evidence I am about to present to the American public is so disturbing. Omar's legal counsel leaned forward instinctively. The progressive activists shifted with unease, and the veterans leaned back with a sense of grim satisfaction as Vance opened the file and extracted a document. This is your refugee application dating back to 1995. I intend to systematically review the path that brought you here, he said, producing another document. What you have accomplished since that time, another, the financial resources you have accepted, and one more, the allegiances you have maintained throughout your tenure. Omar reached for her water glass, her hand trembling visibly, while Vance addressed the C-SPAN cameras directly, declaring, "What you are about to observe is not a partisan assault, nor is it Islamophobia or racism. It is accountability, supported by evidence." Turning his focus back to Omar, he began, "Let us initiate this discussion with your arrival. While thousands of Somali refugees languished for years awaiting resettlement, your family's application was processed in a mere 8 months. So, let us discuss the concept of privilege." He invited the audience to react if they were ready to see how the American dream could be corrupted by someone who never appreciated it. The Senate Hart Building's Room 216 was designed to intimidate, with its soaring ceilings, mahogany paneling, and oil paintings of former senators staring down with history's judgment, flanked by American flags at the chairman's desk. However, today felt different. The usual political theater of senators, checking phones and staffers passing notes, was replaced by something raw and real. The semicircular arrangement of the senators' desks created an amphitheater effect, with the witness table serving as the stage where Representative Ilhan Omar sat, microphone positioned, name placard official, flanked by her expensive attorney, chief of staff, and 2 communications aides. They had prepared for weeks, anticipating questions about refugee policy or perhaps Israel, armed with talking points. But they had not prepared for J.D. Vance. The vice president sat at a 90-degree angle to Omar, close enough to maintain eye contact, yet distant enough to evoke the dynamic of a prosecutor and defendant. His folders aligned with military precision behind him, a former Marine intelligence officer with arms crossed. Scanning the room, the gallery was divided like guests at a hostile wedding. On the left were squad T-shirts, Muslim Votes Matter signs, members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and Georgetown professors. On the right were veterans with medals, Gold Star families, Somali-American business owners with flag pins, and members of Jewish organizations who had fought her anti-Semitism for years. Journalists from every outlet filled the middle, as this hearing was supposed to be routine until word leaked that Vance planned to aggressively pursue the line of questioning, making it the hottest ticket in Washington. C-SPAN's feed crashed twice due to the traffic. Fox cleared its schedule, MSNBC brought in extra commentators, and CNN deployed legal analysts sensing potential crimes. Chairman Grassley adjusted his crooked glasses and read his prepared statement in the cadence of an Iowa grandfather. The Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs meets today to examine refugee resettlement programs. We have invited Representative Omar to provide testimony and Vice President Vance, as a former member and administration immigration point person, to ask questions. The formality was a thin veneer, as everyone knew what was coming. Omar had dressed carefully for the 90 minutes, choosing a burgundy hijab for the camera lights, a dark blazer, and a cream blouse conservative enough for Washington, yet distinctive enough to signal identity, with camera-ready makeup and a composed, practiced expression. She had given her opening statement 15 minutes earlier, spending 5 minutes on her refugee experience, America's humanitarian tradition, and immigrant contributions, using standard progressive talking points with practiced emotion, her voice catching on her journey, and using strategic pauses regarding separated families. The left side applauded, while the right side sat stone-faced with arms crossed. Now it was Vance's turn. He stood slowly and deliberately, his 6'1" frame and military bearing making him seem larger, his dark suit perfectly tailored and not flashy, professional, with a flag pin positioned exactly right and his wedding ring catching the light. His face was weathered from harsh environments, not old but tested. "Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Congresswoman Omar. Thank you for being here. I know these settings can be uncomfortable," he began. Omar nodded wearily, as her lawyer had warned her that Vance would not yell or make victimhood easy, but would be methodical and deadly. "I want to establish something before we begin. Everything I am about to present comes from public records, government documents, your statements, your votes, your social media, financial disclosures, and FEC filings," he stated, gesturing to the folders. "This isn't speculation. It is documentation." He opened the first folder and pulled out a document in clear plastic, holding it up for the cameras with the Department of State seal visible. "This is your family's refugee application from 1995. It was approved, and your family arrived on October 21st, 1995, when you were approximately 12, correct?" he asked. Omar leaned into her microphone and confirmed, "Yes, that's correct. And you are grateful to the United States for accepting your family?" Vance asked. "Of course," she replied. "Good. I am glad to hear that because what I am about to present might suggest otherwise, and I want to give you every opportunity to explain the contradictions between your gratitude and your actions," Vance said. The room shifted. Journalists leaned forward, cameras zoomed, and the gallery went still. Senator Warren tried interrupting, objecting to the characterization, but Grassley's gavel came down hard, stating, "The Vice President has been given time for questioning. He will proceed order." Vance waited for silence, as he had all the time in the world. Then he looked at Omar with the expression of someone beginning a long, necessary task. "Congresswoman, let's start with simple questions. When did your family leave Somalia?" he asked. 1991. "During the Civil War," she answered. "Where did you live between 91 and 95? He asked. "Refugee camps in Kenya," she replied. 4 years in camps. That must have been difficult," he noted. "Very difficult." "We had very little," she said. "And then you came to America. Safety, education, opportunity, yes?" Vance asked. Vance paused and picked up another document. "So help me understand. If America gave you all that, why do you seem to hate it so much?" he asked. Omar's lawyer shot up, objecting that it was an accusation, not a question. Grassley looked at Vance, who never broke eye contact with Omar. "I'll rephrase. Since arriving in the United States, you've made numerous statements critical of America. You've compared us to terrorist organizations. You've dismissed September 11th as some people did something, and you've questioned whether America is fundamentally good," Vance stated. He held up another thick folder. "Would you like me to present those statements? I have them all documented," he offered. Omar's expression cracked just slightly. "So, let me ask again. Why does someone who received refuge, citizenship, education, and opportunity spend so much time attacking the country that saved her?" Vance pressed. Absolute silence followed. Vance set down the folder. "Actually, let's come back to philosophy. Let's start with something concrete. How your family got here so quickly when others waited years, when some are still waiting," he said. "Let's talk about privilege, Congresswoman, because I think America needs to understand. You weren't just lucky. You were connected," he stated. He opened the folder. "And let me be very clear. This isn't about legitimate refugees. This is about you, your specific case, your specific advantages, your specific abuse of opportunities," he clarified. Vance looked at the camera and said, "What you're about to witness is a systematic presentation of evidence, public records, and verified facts, the kind presented in courtrooms because that's what this is, an accounting for what was given and what was done with it. He turned back to Omar and asked, "Shall we begin?" Omar reached for water again and spilled drops on the table. Cameras caught it, and the room stopped breathing, knowing they were about to witness something unprecedented. Vance's aide projected a timeline with 2 columns side by side, making the contrast immediate. "Let's talk about wait times," he said, pointing to the left. Ahmed Hassan applied for refugee status in 1992 from Dadaab camp in Kenya. Same circumstances as your family. Same threat level. "Do you know when he arrived in America?" Vance asked. Omar stayed silent. 2001. He waited 9 years in that camp. 9 years of uncertainty, watching his children grow up in temporary shelters. Hoping, Vance revealed. He pointed to the right. "Your family applied January 95 and arrived October 95. 8 months, he noted, pausing. 8 months, while others waited 8 years. The average Somali refugee in the early 92nds waited 3 to 7 years. But your family took 8 months, putting you in the top 1% for processing speed. Why?" he asked. "I don't control the refugee system," she replied. "No, but someone advocated for you. Someone with influence?" Vance countered, pulling out documents. "Your father's application listed sponsors, organizations providing support. Know what's interesting?" he asked. "These organizations were led by individuals who later employed your father, your sister, and who later donated to your campaigns. It's almost like your family had access others didn't," he suggested. A Somali-American man in the gallery stood and shouted, "I waited 6 years. My family waited 6 years in that same camp." Grassley's gavel came down, ordering, "Order, be seated, or be escorted out." But murmurs spread, with other refugees nodding, remembering their years of waiting and wondering what those families had that they didn't. Vance continued, "Congresswoman, do you consider your family's 8-month processing privilege?" "That's not privilege," she began. "Privilege implies receiving special treatment unavailable to others in similar circumstances. Is that not what happened?" Vance interrupted. "The system processed us based on—" She trailed off. "Based on connections, based on advocacy, based on access." Vance finished for her. He pulled out State Department documents outlining the standard process involving multiple steps. First, UNHCR screening taking 3 to 6 months. Second, U.S. agency referral taking 6 to 12 months. Third, USCIS interviews involving multiple rounds a year apart. Fourth, security clearances, taking 12 to 18 months for Somalis. And fifth, medical exams taking several months. He looked up and stated, "Your family's file shows expedited status at every stage. UNHCR, special circumstances warranting accelerated review, agency referral in 3 weeks instead of 3 months, USCIS single interview instead of multiple rounds, security clearance in 2 months instead of 12, and medical expedited. Every single step accelerated. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens when someone's making calls," he asserted. He projected a photo. "This is your family 1 year after arrival in 96. Your father's Minneapolis apartment. The room looked comfortable. New furniture, large TV," he described. "That television cost $896. Expensive for established Americans, but for refugees 1 year in, impossible," he noted. Next photo. You at Roosevelt High in 99. 4 years after arrival, teenage Omar, well-dressed, new backpack, expensive calculator, he showed. Roosevelt was private college prep, tuition $8,000 per year. "How did your father afford that driving a taxi?" he asked. "My father worked very hard," she replied. "I'm sure he did. But let me show you something." he said, holding up bank records. This is your father's account from '97, 2 years after arrival. The average refugee family had saved $2,000 at that point, but your father had $47,000, he revealed, causing audible gasps. $47,000. How does a taxi driver save that in 2 years, supporting a family of 7, while paying $8,000 in tuition? Vance asked. Omar's lawyer stood and argued, "These are private," but Vance cut him off. "Public records from government assistance programs. Your family claimed everything here was filed with agencies or is in court records." Grassley nodded for him to continue. Vance turned back and said, "I'm not suggesting illegality. I'm suggesting something worse. Ingratitude. You received opportunities others waited years for, support others never got, privilege among refugees. Your family had connections, resources, access, and you got to live the American dream faster than almost anyone," he stated. He clicked to a new slide with names scrolling. "These are Somali refugees who applied in the 90 seconds and are still waiting. 27 years later, still in camps, still hoping, still believing in the dream you got to live," he said, his voice dropping. "And you spent your congressional time questioning whether that dream is worth having," he added, followed by crushing silence. "We'll return to privilege, but that foundation is established. You received special access," he concluded. "The question is what you've done with it, how you've honored it, whether you've built up America or torn it down," he said, picking up the second folder, which was thicker. "Let's move to how you stayed in America. Your path to citizenship is even more interesting," he said, pulling out a marriage certificate. "Let's talk about your marriages, plural," he announced. Omar went pale, and journalists typed frantically. This was it. The allegations that had dogged her for years. The elephant no one in Congress had addressed officially until now. Your immigration status was secured through marriage, multiple marriages, marriages with interesting timing and questionable circumstances, he stated. He held up the certificate. "Let's walk through this timeline together, because Americans deserve to understand exactly how you obtained citizenship and whether that process involved fraud," he declared. Omar's hand shook as she reached for water. The room leaned forward, knowing this was about to get worse. Vance projected a timeline that was simple and devastating. "Let me walk everyone through this carefully," he began. 2002. Ahmed Hirsi, your first husband, faith marriage in Somali tradition, correct?" he asked. "Yes. In Islamic tradition, recognized in your community, not by Minnesota law. I understand different cultures." "That's fine," he acknowledged. Moving to the next entry, 2009. You and Hirsi had your first child, a son, still in faith marriage, correct?" he asked. "Also, 2009, same year you had a child with Hirsi, you legally married someone else. Ahmed Noor, Said Elmi, a British national, correct?" he asked. The room went silent. "Yes," she answered. "Why?" The question hung there. Simple, direct, impossible to answer honestly. Why did you legally marry Elmi if you were in a faith marriage with Hirsi and had just had a child with him? Vance asked. "That's a personal matter," she replied. "It becomes public when it involves immigration law," he countered, pulling out apartment leases. "This is from 2010. The address, 3744 10th Avenue South, Minneapolis. Names on the lease, Ilhan Omar and Ahmed Hirsi." He read. He paused. "Your legal husband was Ahmed Elmi. You were legally married to him but living with a different man. Explain why," he demanded. Omar's lawyer stood, objecting. "Mr. Chairman, these private matters have no bearing. They have bearing on immigration fraud. Marriage fraud is a federal crime. 5 years prison, $250,000 fine. And this committee has a legitimate interest in whether a sitting member committed that crime, Vance retorted. The gallery erupted, and Grassley's gavel called for order. When quiet returned, Grassley looked at Vance and said, "Vice President, no direct accusations without substantial evidence. Do you have fraud evidence?" "I have circumstances meriting investigation, patterns, documents." "Let me continue," Vance replied. He clicked through a series. 2010 tax returns. You filed jointly with Hersey. Legal spouse was Elmi, he noted. 2011? Second child born. Father listed Hersey. Legal spouse Elmi, he continued. 2012. Third child born. Father Hersey. Legal spouse still Elmi, he added. 2013 through 17. Social media photos with Hersey at family events. One caption, "My rock, my everything," posted 2015, he read. "You were married to Elmi until 2017? Vance paused. "For 8 years you were legally married to Elmi, but during those same 8 years you lived with Hersey, had children with Hersey, filed taxes with Hersey, and called Hersey your husband on social media. Explain this arrangement," he challenged. Silence stretched as Omar looked at her lawyer, who shook his head, advising her not to answer. "I have nothing to say about my personal life predating Congress," she said. "Then let me talk about the immigration benefit," Vance pivoted. "Elmi received his green card through your marriage in 2011. Citizenship in 2012. You divorced him in 2017, he recounted. He set down the papers. You marry him when he needs status, he gets a green card, gets citizenship, then you divorce 5 years after citizenship, and immediately marry Hersey, the man you'd actually been with the entire time," he summarized. He looked at the gallery and asked, "Does this seem legitimate, or an immigration arrangement?" He pulled up a comparison. Legitimate marriage-based green cards require evidence. Joint bank accounts, joint leases, photos together, testimony from friends, evidence of shared lives, he explained. Next slide. Your marriage to Elmi joint bank accounts? None found. Joint leases? None. Photos together? None. Testimony? None. Evidence of shared life? None, he listed. This marriage had zero evidence of a relationship. What it had was an immigration benefit. Elmi got citizenship, he stated. You got? What did you get, Congresswoman? He asked. Omar's silence was damning. There are allegations which I won't repeat without proof about the specific nature of your relationship with Elmi. But what I will say is the pattern suggests an immigration arrangement, not a marriage. If true, it's fraud, he declared. He held up the federal statute, Title 8 U.S. Code, Section 1325 Marriage Fraud, reading, Any individual who knowingly enters marriage to evade immigration laws shall be imprisoned not more than 5 years, or fined not more than $250,000 or both. Are you accusing me of a crime? Omar's voice rose. I'm presenting evidence raising serious questions never adequately answered, questions involving potential federal violations, he replied calmly. He set down the statute and added, and I'm noting, a member who may have committed immigration fraud has spent time in office advocating looser immigration enforcement. The irony wasn't lost. In 2016, Minnesota investigators found you filed joint tax returns with Hersey in 14 and 15 while married to Elmi. You were ordered to pay back taxes and a $3,500 fine, he recalled, small amount, but the violation was clear. Claiming a man who wasn't your legal spouse as your spouse for tax purposes, he emphasized. That was a mistake, she claimed. A mistake saving you money and misrepresenting marriage status to the federal government, he corrected. He looked directly at her and summarized, over and over. Immigration benefits through convenient marriages, tax benefits through false filings, legal status benefits while living a different reality. He closed the folder. I want to be clear. I'm not calling for prosecution today. That's not my role. But I'm saying these questions deserve investigation. Real investigation by immigration authorities, by law enforcement, he stated. What I can tell you is someone who obtained status through questionable marriages shouldn't lecture America about immigration enforcement. Someone who separated from their legal spouse for 8 years while living with someone else shouldn't champion family reunification. And someone who gamed the system shouldn't defend others gaming it, he asserted. Let's move on. Let's talk about what you've said about America, about Israel, about Jewish people, because your marriages are murky, but your statements are crystal clear, he said. He pulled out thick papers containing social media speech transcripts and voting records. Let's discuss your anti-Semitism. And before you call that Islamophobic, let me be clear. I'm presenting your own words, your own votes, your own pattern, he clarified. Omar tensed. This issue had gotten her censured by her own party, the issue progressive allies struggled defending, the issue that wouldn't die. Because if there's one consistent thing in your career, it's hostility to the Jewish state and a willingness to traffic in anti-Semitic tropes, he observed. He held up the first tweet. Let's start with, Israel has hypnotized the world. Your words, 2012. You admitted years later this was anti-Semitic. Why'd you say it? He asked. He didn't wait for an answer. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. Your explanation for Israel's support, ancient anti-Semitic trope that Jews buy influence, he cited. You apologized, then said similar things again, he noted. Another tweet. I should not be expected to have allegiance to a foreign country, questioning dual loyalty of Jewish Americans. Another anti-Semitic trope, he listed. He looked up. See the pattern? I do. And more importantly, the American Jewish community does, he said. In the gallery, Jewish organization members leaned forward, some with tears. They'd fought her statements for years, dismissed as right-wing activists, but finally someone with authority was saying what they'd been screaming. Let's go deeper, because it's not just tweets. It's votes. It's policy. Systematic hostility revealing who you are and where your loyalties lie, he said, opening the folder. Let's talk about your voting record on Israel, he announced. The temperature dropped 10 degrees. This was going to be brutal. Vance projected voting records, bills, resolutions, votes, undeniable. House Resolution 246, July 23, 2019. Opposed BDS movement against Israel. BDS seeks to economically strangle the only Middle East democracy, he explained. How'd the House vote? He asked, clicking the remote. 498 members voted yes. One of the most bipartisan votes that session, he revealed. Click. 16 voted no. You were one, he pointed out. Why? He asked. The resolution suppressed free speech, she argued. It opposed a movement singling out the Jewish state for economic warfare while ignoring actual human rights abusers, he countered. China runs concentration camps. Do you support BDS against China? He asked. That's different, she claimed. Saudi Arabia executes gay people. BDS against Saudi Arabia? He asked. We should, she said. Iran hangs protesters. BDS against Iran? He asked. Silence. But Israel, the Jewish state, the one democracy, the one where Arabs serve in parliament, that's the one deserving boycott, in your view, he concluded. Next vote. House Resolution 1072, September 21, Iron Dome funding. Purely defensive, intercepts rockets, saves civilian lives, he described. How'd you vote? No, he stated. You were one of 9 members who voted against protecting Israeli children from rockets, he emphasized. His voice rose. Children in southern Israel have 15 seconds to reach shelters when Hamas fires. Iron Dome saves their lives, he said. You voted against it. Why oppose protecting Jewish children? He asked. I oppose offensive, she began. It's not offensive. It intercepts. It's defense, he corrected. Unless you believe Jewish children don't deserve protection? He asked. Of course not, she said. Then why vote against it? He pressed. He moved on. House Resolution 194, March 7th, 19. Direct response to your anti-Semitic statements. Your party passed a resolution condemning anti-Semitism because of things you said, he reminded her. And you couldn't vote yes. You voted present, not yes, not no, present, like abstaining from condemning anti-Semitism, he noted. He set it down. Your party passes a resolution condemning anti-Semitism because of your statements, and you won't even vote yes, he said, incredulously. He pulled up her Benjamin's tweet thread. Let's revisit this. I want everyone to understand what you said and what it means, he said. He read, It's all about the Benjamin's baby. You were saying Jews use money to buy influence, not analysis. Anti-Semitic trope. Next tweet from her thread. AIPAC. American Israel Public Affairs Committee. You said they were buying votes. He continued. Never mind that AIPAC doesn't donate to campaigns. It's a lobbying organization, not a PAC. You didn't care about that detail because you weren't making an analytical point. You were trafficking in anti-Semitism, he asserted. You apologized, said you didn't realize connotations. You were learning. Then 3 weeks later, he clicked. You did it again. I should not be expected to have allegiance to a foreign country. He set down the papers. Do you know what dual loyalty means? It's not. Dual loyalty is the accusation that Jews are more loyal to Israel than to home countries, used to justify persecution for centuries in Russia, Germany, everywhere. Anti-Semites want to mark Jews as other, as not truly American, as suspect, he explained. He pulled out a letter. This is from 70 Jewish members of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, asking you to stop trafficking in these tropes. 70 of your colleagues telling you your words cause harm, he showed. Your response was accusing them of trying to silence you, he noted. He clicked to her response tweet. I am told my colleagues need to be educated on anti-Semitism. You turned their concerns into an attack on their education, made yourself the victim, never addressed the substance. He criticized. Another document. This is from the Anne Frank House in Amsterdam, Holocaust Remembrance Museum. They felt compelled to release a statement about your comparison of Israel to Nazi Germany, he revealed. The Anne Frank House. They had to explain why comparing Israel to the regime that murdered Anne Frank is offensive, he emphasized. His voice hardened. When you've lost the Anne Frank House, maybe it's time to consider you're not misunderstood. Maybe you're just wrong, he suggested. He clicked to a video. Watch this. 2019 event, he said as audio played Omar's voice. CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties. He paused. We'll come back to 9/11 inches detail, but notice what else. All of us, meaning Muslims, you lumped Jewish Americans' concern about anti-Semitism with post-9/11 discrimination as if Jewish Americans were responsible, he analyzed. Another clip. Omar questioning Elliot Abrams. Would you support an armed faction in Venezuela that engages in war crimes if you believed they served U.S. interests? He played. He stopped it. On its face, a policy question, but context everyone understood. Elliot Abrams is Jewish, he explained. You weren't asking about policy. You were asking a Jewish official about genocide. Same week you'd been criticized for anti-Semitism, the subtext was clear, he stated. Several senators shifted uncomfortably. Even progressives knew that moment was inappropriate. Let me show you a pattern. When you talk about Saudi Arabia, you discuss policy, China economics, Russia interference. But Israel, he clicked through quotes. Israel has hypnotized the world. May Allah awaken the people and see the evil doings of Israel. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. Political influence that says it's okay to push for allegiance to a foreign country. We must have same accountability for all victims of crimes against humanity, said, while comparing Israel to Taliban and Hamas. He read, every statement uses anti-Semitic tropes. Evil, money, dual loyalty, moral equivalence with terrorists, not policy criticism, hostility to Jews, he summarized. He pulled out a bound report. This is from the Zionist Organization of America, documenting 45 separate instances of anti-Semitic statements by you, 45 inches less than 4 years, he stated, holding it up. Each cited, each your exact words, each showing same pattern. Singling out Israel, using anti-Semitic tropes, claiming victimhood when called out. He listed. He set it down. You're not being silenced, you're being criticized. There's a difference, and you can't tell the difference, he told her. In the gallery, a Jewish woman stood and said, my grandfather survived Auschwitz, came to America for freedom, and you use your refugee status to spread the same hate. Grassley gavelled, order, gallery silent, or be cleared. But the woman's voice broke something. Other Jewish members stood, not shouting, just standing, a silent accusation. Vance let the moment breathe, then spoke quietly. Congresswoman, direct question. Simplest question. Do you believe Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish state? I believe. She started. Yes or no? Does the Jewish state of Israel have a right to exist? He interrupted. Pause. 5 seconds. 10. I believe in a two-state solution, she evaded. Not what I asked? Yes or no? He pressed. Another pause. I support a political process, she said. You can't say yes. You literally cannot say, the world's only Jewish state has a right to exist, he noted, his voice carrying triumph, because you don't believe it does. Your anti-Semitism isn't about Israeli policy, it's about Jews, he asserted. Your refusal proves it, he concluded, closing the folder. Let's talk about money. He shifted. While you're focused on Israeli lobbying, you've been busy with your own campaign funds. Where those funds went is fascinating, he said, opening the next folder. Let's discuss Tim Minette, your current husband, who runs a consulting firm that receives massive amounts of your campaign money. Shall we follow the money? He asked. Omar went white. Money crimes bring down politicians, always have. Vance projected a flowchart showing money from Omar for Congress to E Street Group to various expenses. Let me tell you about consulting fees. Most people don't understand campaigns. Let me break it down, he offered, pointing to the chart. Most House campaigns spend money on many things: TV, radio, mail, staff, office, travel, and yes, consulting, digital strategy, social media, that kind of thing, he explained. He pulled out comparison numbers. Average House campaign in a competitive district, actually close, spends about $300,000 on digital consulting. That's typical for a full cycle, he stated. Pause. Your district you won by 40 points. No real race. Republican barely campaigned. You were guaranteed to win, he noted. So how much did you spend on consulting? He asked, pointing to the number. Let it sit. $1.18 million. Over $1 million to a consulting company in a race you were guaranteed to win. To a company run by. He paused. Let me walk through the timeline. He clicked. 2018. You hire E Street Group, run by Tim Minett. He's married to someone else? You're married to Ahmed Hirsi, he recounted. 2019. You divorce Hirsi. Minett gets divorced. His ex-wife alleges in divorce filings, public court documents, that you are having an affair with her husband. Your campaign denies, he continued. 2020. You marry Tim Minett. He finished. He pointed to numbers. First year you hired his company but weren't married. $600,000. Next year, after marrying him, over $1 million. Year after, another $1 million. Year after, another $1 million. 4 years. $4 million, all to your husband, he summarized. He pulled out detailed payments. But let me show you what makes this interesting. What you supposedly paid for, he said, clicking through and reading slowly. Digital strategy. $312,022 alone for a safe house race. What digital strategy costs $300,000? He asked. Click. Video production. $289,000. You posted 63 videos in 22? That's 4,600 per video, he calculated. Average professional campaign video costs $2,000 to $5,000. You paid nearly double, he noted. Click. Social media management, $267,000. But you have 2 social media staffers on payroll. Separate line items, so if staff does social media, what did E Street Group do for $267,000? He questioned. Click. Website development. $98,000. Your campaign website, standard campaign website, costs $15,000 to $50,000. You paid $98,000. He compared. Let me show standard costs. Digital strategy, $10,000 to $25,000 per month, is normal. You paid $26,000. Video production, $2,000 to $5,000 per video, is normal. You paid $4,600. Social media, $5,000 to $15,000 per month, is normal. You paid $22,000. Website, $15,000 to $50,000 total, is normal. You paid $98,000, he listed. Across the board, roughly double market rate to your husband using donor money, he concluded. He clicked to travel. Your campaign paid E Street Group for travel, $67,000 in 21 alone. Where was your husband traveling for Minnesota campaign work? He asked. Specific entries. Travel New York, $4,500. Travel LA, $6,200. Travel Miami, $3,800. Travel Chicago, $2,900. New York, LA, Miami, Chicago for Minneapolis campaign work? He questioned incredulously. Campaign required expensive city travel, hotel receipts, and where he stayed. Street Regis, New York, Four Seasons, LA, Edition Miami, luxury hotels, he read. Your campaign paid for your husband to stay at hotels costing $500 to $800 per night, he stated. Devastating comparison. Social media posts cross-referenced with FEC filings. Instagram posts tagged locations match travel expenses, but photos show vacation scenes, restaurants, tourist locations, not campaign events, he pointed out. Photo appeared, Omar and Minett, fancy restaurant, much-needed break. March 21st, 21. Next to it, FEC filing. Travel NYC E Street Group, 4,500. Same date. He matched. Another beach scene, recharging. August 14th, 21. FEC Travel Miami, 3,800. Same date. He added. Using campaign funds for vacation with your husband. Donors thought money went to winning elections. It went to luxury hotels and restaurants, he accused. He pulled out more records. Fundraising. Consulting. You paid E Street Group $203,000 in 22. But here's an interesting chart showing fundraising by quarter. He showed. Your fundraising declined in 22. 2.65 million versus 2.89 the year before. 240,000 decrease. He noted. But you paid $200,000 for fundraising expertise that resulted in worse performance. Either your husband's terrible at fundraising, or the point was paying your husband, he inferred. New section. Federal law about this very clear, relevant statute. Federal candidates may not use campaign funds for personal use, he cited. Personal use includes payments to family, unless those payments are at fair market value for services actually rendered and necessary for campaign, he explained. He read slower. Fair market value. You paid double. Services actually rendered. Luxury hotels and vacation photos. Necessary. You won by 40 points. He broke it down. Letters from watchdogs. Campaign Legal Center. Filed with FEC requesting investigation. 21. Still under investigation. Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust. Different organization. Also requested investigation. 22. He mentioned. Both organizations, one left, one right, looked at your finances and said something's wrong, he emphasized. Comparisons to other representatives found. Representative Don Young, Alaska, fined $59,000 for improper spending. Chaka Fattah, Pennsylvania, convicted 10 years for fraud. Duncan Hunter, California, convicted 11 months for converting funds to personal use, he listed. You've paid your husband's company more than all these violations combined. Over $4 million and still in office. Still raising money, still paying your husband, he noted. Final slide. Let me show what $4 million could have done, he said. Food assistance for 8,000 families for a year. College scholarships for 100 students. Health care premiums for 1,300 families. Small business loans for 400 entrepreneurs. Housing assistance for 300 families, he listed. Instead, your husband's bank account, he concluded. He closed the folder. Donors gave money to fight for progressive causes, to fight for the poor, for justice. You gave it to your husband for luxury hotels, questionable services, inflated rates, he stated. You turned your campaign into a family business, he accused. Progressive activists looked uncomfortable. The numbers were hard to argue. Let's talk about how you spend that money on yourself. While donors think contributions fight for justice, you're living like royalty, he said. Let me show you the luxury lifestyle your constituents' donations help fund, he offered, pulling out glossy photographs. This is how the champion of the poor actually lives, he said, as Vance projected a split screen. Left. Rundown buildings from Minnesota's 5th. Boarded windows, people at bus stops in winter. Right. Omar's D.C. apartment building, the Odyssey, sleek glass and steel, expensive, he contrasted. Let's talk about your district. Minnesota's 5th. Minneapolis. People you claim to represent, he said, clicking through stats. Typical household makes $62,000 yearly after taxes, about $4,200 monthly. That's what they work with, he stated. A budget appeared. Rent $1,100, utilities $180, food $650, transportation $250, healthcare $320, phone $120, clothing maybe $100, savings if lucky $150, everything else, whatever's left, which isn't much, he read. Notice something. No money for extras, no luxuries, no fancy dinners, no designer clothes. These families live paycheck to paycheck. One emergency from disaster, he pointed out. Next slide. Now let's see how you live. The Odyssey Condominium, Logan Circle, D.C. Your unit $3,100 monthly plus fees, he revealed. Let it sink in. Your rent is more than average monthly income for families in your district, he emphasized. Building amenities, he read each slowly. 24-hour concierge, rooftop pool, state-of-the-art fitness center, private yoga studio, resident lounge with catering kitchen, secured garage, pet spa. Pause. A pet spa. Your building has spa services for dogs, while families in your district can't afford health care for children, he noted. Photos of her unit. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,100 square feet, hardwood floors, stainless appliances, floor-to-ceiling windows, granite countertops, he described. Comparison chart? Average apartment in your district, 850 square feet. Your DC apartment, 1,100. And it's just you and your husband? He compared. Let's talk transportation. You've been vocal about climate change, critical of fossil fuels, supportive of public transportation. So naturally, you take metro everywhere, right? He asked rhetorically. FEC filings. Ride sharing in 21 and 22. Your campaign paid for Uber and Lyft 847 rides total. 47,290. Average 56 per ride, he revealed. DC has excellent metro. Your office is 3 blocks from a station, but you took 847 Ubers, he noted. Specific expenses. December 12th, 21. Uber from apartment to office. 23. Distance 1.4 miles. 15-minute walk. You paid 23. To avoid 15 minutes, he cited. January 8th, 22 Lyft Capital to restaurant. 47, 0.8 miles. 10-minute walk. You spent 47 to avoid 10 minutes, he added. March, 3rd Uber apartment to Whole Foods. $21.34, 4-minute walk, he continued. Instagram photo. Omar at climate rally, Green New Deal. Now March 22nd, 22. Next to it, FEC filing Uber. 67. Same day, you took a 67 Uber to a climate rally, the rally about reducing fossil fuel use. He pointed out the hypocrisy. Clothing section. Now, your wardrobe. You've positioned yourself as woman of the people, but Instagram tells different story, he said. Photos with price tags. Cream blazer. Max Mara. Weekend 2000. $495. Handbag. Valentino rock stud. $3,195. Sunglasses. Gentle Monster. $385 per pair. You own at least 6 pairs. Shoes Jimmy Choo. About $700 per pair. Even your hijabs designer Versace, Hermes, Dolce, $400 to $800 each, he listed. I don't care if you wear expensive clothes, you're in Congress, good salary, spend how you want. What I care about is hypocrisy. You rage against income inequality, wearing a blazer costing 4 months' rent for constituents. You talk about rich, not paying fair share, carrying a purse, costing more than families' monthly income. He criticized. Side by side, left people in district target bags, bus passes, second-hand clothes. Right, Omar Max Mara, Valentino, Uber Black, Whole Foods, he contrasted. You're not living like people you represent. You're living like people you claim to fight, he declared. Restaurant expenses. Let's talk food, where you eat, what it costs. He moved on. FEC reports. Fiola Mare, 347. Italian seafood. One of DC's most expensive. Capitol Grill, 423. 4 separate charges. 22. RPM Italian, 289. Nobu DC, $556. He read, Nobu, $556. Dinner charged to campaign during pandemic, when district restaurants were closing, when families used food banks, he noted. Specific date, March 15, first COVID lockdown week. Photos long food bank lines in Minneapolis, closed businesses, masks, fear, he recalled. Next receipt, Capitol Grill, $423. March 15th. That week, your district's restaurants shut down permanently, small businesses dying, families losing everything, and you had a $400 dinner campaign funds, while constituents waited in line for free food, he emphasized. Final comparison, 2 budgets side by side, he said. Median household district 5, monthly income after taxes, $4,200. Rent $1,100. Utilities $180. Food $650. Every dollar accounted. Discretionary income 0. Nothing. No room for error. No luxuries. He repeated. Ilhan Omar. Household monthly income approximately $18,000. Congressional salary plus husband's company income. DC. Rent $3,100. Utilities $200. Food probably $2,000 based on restaurants. Transportation 0 campaign pays Uber. Healthcare 0. Congressional. Phone 0. Campaign pays. Clothing. Multiple designer items, probably $4,000 monthly. Travel 0 campaign pays. Dry cleaning 0 campaign pays, he estimated. Total fixed costs, about $9,300. Discretionary income, $8,700 monthly. You have more discretionary income per month than constituents earn total, he highlighted. And much of your lifestyle subsidized by campaign funds, by donors, by people who thought they funded progressive causes, he added. Final photo. Community event. Omar with constituents. Behind her families in modest clothes. Kids in hand-me-downs. People looking tired. He showed. Omar stood out. Designer hijab. Expensive blazer. Perfect makeup. Manicured nails like celebrity doing photo op, he described. Look at this. Really look. You're not one of them anymore. Maybe never were, he observed. You're performing using them. Their struggles are your brand. Their poverty is your platform. But you're not with them. You're above them, he accused. He closed the folder. Refugees who love America. Work 3 jobs. Save every dollar. Dream of having fraction of what you have. They're not angry, you're successful. Success is American dream, he explained. They're angry, you're ungrateful. You take success and use it to attack the country that gave it, he stated. Next folder heavier, which brings us to loyalty, he said, picking it up. Your lifestyle is one thing, hypocrisy, but your allegiance is something else. About whether you're American first or something else first, he introduced. He opened it. Let's discuss Somalia. Your relationship with Somali government, where your heart really lies, he proposed. Americans deserve to know, who do you really serve? The country that gave you everything? Or the country you left? He asked. Somali Americans leaned forward. This was their question, the one they'd been asking for years. The room braced as Vance pulled up a split screen. Left American flag, right Somali flag. You're American citizen. Took oath to Constitution. Swore allegiance to United States, he reminded her. Pause. But your actions suggest your heart lies elsewhere, he said. Video clip played. Omar speaking Somali at Minneapolis event. Subtitles reading, "We are Somalis first, Muslims second. We are not American. This is temporary home. Our nation is Somalia. Our future is there." Room erupted. Omar shot up, shouting, "That translation is false!" 3 independent professional translators reviewed this. All reached same conclusion. Vance countered. He signaled and said, "To ensure no question, I brought one here." A man stood from gallery. Marine dress uniform, Somali features, Purple Heart, Bronze Star. Sergeant First Class Abdi Hassan, born Mogadishu, came to U.S. 2003, 8 years after you. Joined Army 2006, 3 Afghanistan tours. Purple Heart, Bronze Star with Valor, fluent Somali. The sergeant approached. Grassley nodded. Vance played clip again. Sergeant Hassan, you reviewed this. What did Representative Omar say? He asked. Hassan's voice was clear and firm. Sir, she said, we are Somalis first. This is temporary. Our nation is Somalia. Those are her words. No ambiguity. No mistranslation. Omar's lawyer frantically whispered. But what could he say? Decorated Somali-American Marine confirmed it. Thank you, Sergeant, Vance said. Hassan returned, sitting ramrod straight, a living rebuke. Vance turned back. Your own words in Somali to Somali audience. When you thought Americans wouldn't understand, you told them your loyalty is Somalia. This is temporary. Somalia is your real nation, he stated. Another video, different event, translation, I will always fight for Somalia. I will use my position to help our country, Somalia, not America. He quoted, You're in U.S. Congress, swear oath to America, but telling Somali audiences, Somalia is our country. He pointed out, Twitter feed, 2 columns. Left tweets about America. He read slowly, America is fundamentally broken. This is not going to be the country of white people. Systematic oppression in every American institution. American imperialism. This country's greatest sin, he quoted. Write tweets about Somalia. Different tone. Beautiful Somalia. Our homeland. Proud of Somali president. Somalia's future is bright. Our Somali community is strong. Never forget our Somali roots. He read, Notice difference. America broken, oppressive, sinful. Somalia, beautiful, proud, bright, strong. He contrasted. Which country do you actually love? He asked. Travel records. Your Somalia trips multiple times since taking office. January 19, April 19, August 20, December 21. Each time you met with Somali government officials, he noted. Photos from her Instagram. Omar shaking hands with Somali president, touring government buildings, meeting ministers. These aren't family photos, official meetings, government facilities, cabinet members, president himself. He showed. State Department document? Members of Congress must report official meetings with foreign officials to State Department. Mandatory? Did you report? He asked. Silence. I'll take that as no, he inferred. He held up a document. This is congressional foreign travel and official meetings reported for 19. Your name appears once. Israel trip that caused controversy. Somalia trips not reported. None, he revealed. Relevant statute. Title 18. U.S. Code Section 9. 5. 3. The Logan Act. He read slowly. Any U.S. citizen who, without authority, directly or indirectly, commences correspondence with any foreign government with intent to influence measures shall be fined or imprisoned not more than 3 years, he cited. Why meeting foreign officials without reporting? What were you discussing? He asked. I was visiting family in government buildings, she claimed. More photos. Presidential Palace, Mogadishu, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, not family homes, official business. What were you discussing? He pressed. He pulled up legislative record. Particularly interesting in 19 Somalia trip, you co-sponsored legislation increasing U.S. aid to Somalia, 27 million more. You met Somalia officials, didn't report, then pushed for more American taxpayer money to their government? He connected the dots. Did they ask you during those meetings? Foreign aid helps American foreign aid should benefit Americans advance our interests, security values. Why do you think America exists to fund other countries or protect Americans? He asked. Voting records pattern emerged. Aid to Israel, you voted no. Taiwan, no. Ukraine, no. NATO allies, no. Sanctions on Iran, no. He listed. Pause. Aid to Somalia, yes. Yemen, yes. Ending sanctions on Sudan, yes. Palestinian territories, yes. He contrasted. See pattern. Oppose aid to America's allies. Countries sharing values, democracies, partners, but support aid to countries with minimal strategic value unless you're not prioritizing American interests, he observed. Comparison chart. Between 19 and 23, you tweeted criticizing U.S. 847 times. More than 3 times weekly, every week, 4 years. He quantified Israel 234, Saudi Arabia 89, China 23 despite concentration camps for Muslims, Russia 18 despite invading Ukraine. He continued, pause. Iran 0, not 1. Iran funds terrorism, chants death to America, executes gays and protesters, never criticized once, he noted. Somalia 0. Not once in 4 years, you've never criticized Somalia or Iran, but constantly criticize America. Why? He asked. Video. Omar at protest. No war, no sanctions, hands off Iran. January 20. After Iran shot down Ukrainian plane killing 176, after funding Hezbollah and Hamas, after developing nuclear weapons, and you protested American sanctions, he recalled. Document letters signed by 150 Congress members condemning Iran's treatment of protesters, women murdered by morality police, protesters executed, basic human rights violations. You refused to sign. Why? He asked. I don't sign performative, she defended. Performative? Women were murdered, executed for showing hair. You called opposing that performative, but you'll sign letters about Palestine, Kashmir, Yemen, just not Iran, not the regime funding terrorism against America. He retorted, as in 7, after the Prazan Man. Another video. Omar at Somali event translation. We must remember who we are. Stay connected to our homeland. Use our positions here to help our people there. Our people there? Not Americans? Somali in Somalia? That's who you serve, he concluded. I want witnesses, Americans with something to say about loyalty, he called. 3 Somali-American men approached in suits with flag pins, one with military service ribbons. First man spoke English, accented but clear. My name, Muhammad Ali, came 98, 3 years after you. Drive taxi Minneapolis like your father. Raised 3 kids, all went college. One is doctor, I love America. America gave me everything. I am American, not Somali. American, American, second man, Ahmed U, came 2001, owned 3 restaurants. Minneapolis, employ 27 people, pay taxes, is vote, I am American first, Somalia is my birth, but America is my home, my future, my children's future. Third man military uniform Captain Abdi Hassan, different from Sergeant, same story. Served 10th Mountain Division, Afghanistan twice, Iraq once. I bled for this country, held up hand scars visible, lost 2 fingers to IED, watched friends die, because this country gave my family refuge, because I'm American, not Somali, American, American. All 3 looked at Omar. First man again. You shame us. Same chance we had? Better chance, maybe special treatment? You chose politics over gratitude. Somalia over America. You do not represent us. Silence. Their testimony undeniable. Real refugees came after Omar. No connections. Worked harder. Loved America more. Vance let it settle, then quietly said, "These men came with nothing. You came with connections. They built lives through hard work. You built political career through privilege. They love America. You resent it? Why? No answer. Let me ask directly. If war broke out between Somalia and United States, hypothetically, which side would you support?" He asked. "That's hypothetical," she deflected. "It's loyalty test every American should answer immediately." "Which side?" "I would support peace," she evaded. Not an answer. If forced to choose American soldiers fighting Somali soldiers, which side, America or Somalia? He pressed. Pause, stretched 5 seconds. 10, 15, 20. Cameras zoomed. Room waited. She couldn't say America. Your silence is the answer. You can't say America because you're not sure. Your loyalty is divided. Somewhere in your heart, you're still Somali, first using America while loving Somalia, he concluded. He closed folder, picked up final one, thickest, most important, which brings us to September 11th, 2001, the day that should have made every refugee grateful for this country's protection, the day showing what Islamic terrorism means, the day 19 terrorists murdered 3,000 Americans, the day you dismissed as "some people did something," he stated. His voice dropped serious in new way. Room went completely silent. This was it, the unforgivable statement. Let's discuss exactly what those some people did, and why your dismissal reveals everything about who you are and where sympathies lie, he said. He opened folder, pulled out photos. Twin Towers smoke pouring because this is the kill shot. Everything else? Marriage, fraud, campaign, money, anti-Semitism, luxury, lifestyle, divided, loyalty, all bad, all shows poor character. But this, he looked up, this is unforgivable. Vance stood out of respect, like a man discussing the dead. September 11th, 2001, I was 19. Ohio State, watched the second plane hit on TV in Student Union. I'll never forget where I was. Every American remembers 3,000 Americans died that day. Not in battle, not soldiers who chose to fight, murdered by 19 Islamic terrorists who hijacked 4 planes and turned them into weapons, he recounted. Photos, both towers smoking. These weren't military targets, office buildings, civilians going to work Tuesday morning, secretaries, accountants, janitors, people whose only crime was being American, he reminded. Another photo, the horrible one. People jumping, choosing to fall rather than burn. Some people did something. That's how you describe this, he quoted. Let me play your exact words. he said. Audio clip played Omar's voice. Casual, dismissive. CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties. He stopped audio. Let's break down your statement word by word. Words matter, especially discussing mass murder, he analyzed. Some people, not 19 Islamic terrorists, not Al-Qaeda, not jihadists who declared war. Some people like anyone, like random, he criticized. Next photo. First responders running toward towers. Did something not murdered. 3,000 Americans. Not committed worst terrorist attack in history. Not flew planes into buildings, just something like they littered, he mocked. South Tower collapsing. And then, all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties. You made Muslims the victims. Made 9/11 about discrimination against Muslims, not about 3,000 murdered, not their families, not first responders who died saving them. You made it about Muslims facing scrutiny, he charged. He faced Omar. Some people had names. Mohammed Atta, Marwan al-Shehi, Ziad Jarrah, Hani Hanjour, specific people Islamic terrorists acting for jihad. They said so. Left videos, left wills explained why. For Islam, for Allah to punish America. He listed. Names scrolled. These people have names too. Jeffrey Coleman, Christian Adams, Donald Jones, Karen Martin, Charles Burlingame. Would you like me to read all 2,977 names? Each deserves more than something happened, he offered. Paused on specific section, Flight 93. Todd Beamer, Mark Bingham, Tom Burnett, Jeremy Glick, charged the cockpit, fought terrorists, prevented plane hitting, Capitol or White House, gave lives to save others. They're heroes. You reduced their sacrifice to some people did something, he accused. First responders, 343 firefighters died, running into burning buildings, while others ran out, climbing stairs in full gear. They knew buildings might collapse, went anyway, because saving American lives mattered more than their own, he honored. Photos firefighters covered in ash. Your phrase doesn't honor them, doesn't respect sacrifice. It minimizes, erases, he stated. Pentagon 184 died. At Pentagon, military and civilian veterans who survived war zones murdered at desks. Your phrase doesn't honor them either, he added. Her apology, I was obviously talking about aftermath and how all Muslims were subjected to collective punishment, still making Muslims victims, still not acknowledging what happened, still not saying Islamic terrorists murdered Americans, he critiqued. Let me be clear what you did. You minimized the worst terrorist attack in American history to score political points, to make Muslims seem like victims instead of actual victims, with language showing contempt for 3,000 dead, he declared. He signaled aid. I've invited people who've earned the right to speak about 9/11. People you owe explanation, he announced. 3 people approached. Firefighter in dress uniform, FDNY. Woman in 60 seconds, clutching a photograph. Man with burn scars on face and neck. Lieutenant Michael Stackpole, FDNY retired, was at Ground Zero, lost 6 company members that day. 6 friends, 6 brothers. Patricia Smith, her husband was Tower 2 101st floor, called 9:04 a.m. to say goodbye. Line went dead. 9:58 when tower collapsed. Robert Sanchez, Pentagon that day, survived barely 2nd and 3rd degree burns on 30% of his body, 17 surgeries. Vance looked at Omar. They want to ask you something they've wanted to for years, since you said, some people did something, he said. Patricia stepped forward. Voice steady, but tears ran. Congresswoman, my husband's name was Robert Smith, not some people Bobby. He coached Little League, loved. Yankees called me every morning from work to say he loved me, she said, holding up photo hands shaking. This is Bobby, our daughter's wedding, 6 months before he died. Look at him. Look at his face. This is who died. Not some people. Bobby, she cried. She stepped closer. I want you to say it. Say, Islamic terrorists murdered your husband. Not, some people did something. Say what happened, she demanded. Room held its breath. Omar opened, mouth closed it. I'm sorry for your loss, she said. That's not what I asked. Patricia's voice cracked. Say it, say terrorists murdered him, say it was terrorism, she insisted. Omar looked at lawyer gallery cameras anywhere but Patricia's face. She couldn't. You won't say it. You won't condemn the terrorists. Who killed him won't even say it was terrorism, because they were Muslim. You put your religion before our dead, before Bobby, before 3,000 Americans, she accused. She turned to other 9 over 11 families in gallery. My husband died defending this country from people who hated it, and she lives in this country and hates it too, she declared. Room exploded. Senators standing gallery erupting. Grassley gave desperately order security. Vance stood silent, let it unfold. This was truth. This was anger. This was what Omar earned. When quiet returned, firefighters stepped forward, voice rough from smoke and ash. I carried people out, pieces of people you ever carry, pieces of someone ever hold someone's hand while they die crushed under rubble. Some people did something. The people I carried out had something done to them, like they slipped and fell. They were murdered by Islamic terrorists who said they did it for Allah, for Islam, for jihad, and you won't admit it? Because you're more worried about Muslim feelings than American lives, he stated. Grassley gave Lieutenant please. No, she gets to minimize what happened. 6 of my brothers died, murdered, and she won't admit it, he insisted. Quietly now, worse, somehow. You came here as refugee. We let you in, protected you, gave you opportunities. You won't even condemn people who attacked us. What does that say about you? He asked. Sitting down, didn't take his eyes off her. Robert Sanchez stepped forward, voice quiet, but carrying weight. Congresswoman? Simple question. Same question for years. Will you condemn Islamic terrorism? Yes or no? He asked. Silence? Will you say, September 11th was act of Islamic terrorism? Yes or no? He asked again. More silence. Will you say the 19 hijackers were Islamic terrorists who murdered 2,977 Americans in jihad's name? Yes or no? He pressed. Omar looked at lawyer. He shook his head. Don't answer. But only a trap, if she couldn't say yes. I condemn all terrorism, she equivocated. Not what I asked. Islamic terrorism specifically. Do you condemn Islamic terrorism? All forms of terrorism? Islamic terrorism. Those 2 words? Can you say them? He insisted. You're making this about religion, she complained. Terrorists made it about religion. They said, Allahu Akbar. Crashing planes said they did it for Islam. They said it. Why can't you say it? Why can't you condemn the specific ideology that murdered thousands unless you have sympathy for it, unless somewhere you understand their grievances, he challenged. That's outrageous, Omar stood. Is it? Vance, cut in. Let me show you pattern. Fast damning asked to condemn Al-Qaeda. We must understand root causes ISIS, address foreign policy grievances Hamas. They are resistance fighters Taliban. Give them a chance, he quoted. Pause. Ask to condemn white supremacy. Immediate, yes. Domestic terrorism, immediate. Yes, police violence, immediate. Yes, you'll condemn American issues immediately, but won't condemn Islamic terrorism, ever. You contextualize, make excuses, deflect. Why? Because somewhere in your heart, you sympathize. Not with violence, maybe, but with ideology. With grievances, with anger at America. You understand it? Because you feel it too. He analyzed. He walked to center. America gave you refuge from violence, from failed state, from chaos, from same Islamic extremism that killed those 2,977 people. You were fleeing the same ideology that flew those planes, and your response has been to minimize the threat, make excuses, refuse to condemn it clearly, he stated. He picked up last folder. Let me show you something poll conducted in your district last month among Somali Americans. Question: do you believe Representative Omar adequately represents your values and values of grateful refugees? Results: yes, 34%. No, 52%. Unsure, 14%. He revealed. Your own community, Somali refugees, you claim to represent more than half? Say you don't. He emphasized. Comments from survey. She makes us look ungrateful. Makes us look like we hate America. She's embarrassment to Somali who love this country. She should resign, he read. Vance looked at camera. This woman came here with nothing. Actually more than nothing, with special treatment most refugees never have. We gave everything: education, safety, opportunity, political power, Congress, he listed. Back to Omar. And you've spent every moment questioning whether we deserve to give it. You've attacked the country that saved you, aligned with its enemies, refused to condemn its attackers, lived in luxury, representing poverty, paid your family, with campaign funds trafficked in anti-Semitism shown, loyalty to Somalia while serving American Congress. He summarized. He gathered folders. Your not refugee success story, your cautionary tale, warning about what happens when gratitude is replaced by grievance, when opportunity meets resentment, when America's generosity is repaid with condemnation, he declared. He stood. I'm done, Mr. Chairman. The record speaks, evidence is overwhelming, pattern is clear, he concluded. Last, look at Omar. Congresswoman, thank you for being here. You've taught America an important lesson. Not everyone who comes here grateful stays grateful. Not everyone who receives opportunity uses it honorably. Not everyone who waves the flag actually loves the country it represents, he said. He walked toward exit, paused at door turned. You should be ashamed, but I don't think you are, and that's the saddest part, he added. He left door closed with quiet click room, exploded media rushing out, progressive activists shouting veterans, saluting 9 over 11 families embracing Somali, Americans nodding. Omar sat alone at witness table, isolated, exposed, destroyed. Patricia Smith walked slowly to table, set down Bobby's photo right in front of Omar. His name was Robert Smith. Remember that, when you're planning your response tonight, remember his name. Bobby Robert Smith, murdered by Islamic terrorists on September 11th. Not some people, not something. Terrorists murder, say the words, she said. She walked away. Left the photo Bobby Smith, American flag visible behind, murdered by some people who did something. Grassley's gavel 3 times. This hearing is adjourned, but it wasn't over. It was just beginning. The video went viral in minutes. Patricia Smith demanding Omar say, terrorism. Viral in 2 minutes, firefighters rage. Viral in 3, Somali American Marine. Translating viral in 4. Vance walking out, viral in 6. Every major clip hit millions of views before sunset. Even CNN ran. Questions about Omar that deserve answers. MSNBC awkwardly admitted, some financial evidence is troubling. New York Times fact-checker rated Vance's claims true or mostly true across the board. Most devastating Somali-American media radio shows, Minneapolis Community, newspapers, mosques, one after another. Somali refugees who loved America spoke out. She doesn't represent us. We came grateful. She came entitled. She makes us look bad. She should resign. Political fallout swift. Omar's primary opponent announced next day Somali-American Marine Corps veteran Iraq War Bronze Star refugee in 2004. His announcement speech, 90 seconds. I'm running because gratitude matters, because America saved my life, and I spent 5 years defending it because Ilhan Omar doesn't represent Somali refugees, she represents herself. I'm Somali, I'm Muslim, I'm American, in that order number. American first, always vote for me. If you believe America deserves representatives who actually love America. 10 million views in 24 hours. Donations poured in within 72 hours. 2.1 million raised. Omar's fundraising cratered. Next FEC, filing 68% drop. Small dollar donors abandoned her. They'd seen evidence. Seen money going to husband. Seen luxury lifestyle. Seen ingratitude. House Democratic leadership leaked. She's more liability than asset. Pelosi's spokesperson, no comment, but we believe in accountability. Even the squad distanced AOC tweeted vague support, but didn't mention Omar Tlaib. Silent, Presley praised Vance's military service. FEC announced accelerating investigation. House Ethics opened inquiry, bipartisan vote. Immigration officials confirmed reviewing naturalization records. But the most significant impact was cultural. The hearing had broken something for years. Omar was untouchable. Any criticism dismissed as Islamophobic, the evidence was always there. But no one with authority had presented it systematically. Until Vance Marine veteran, Appalachian success story, Vice President. He had authority, credibility, platform. He'd presented evidence, asked questions, demanded answers. No yelling, no dramatics, just documents and facts. Within 2 weeks, Omar's approval in her district dropped from 62% to 41% among Somali Americans. 29%, Minneapolis Community Center, held Town Hall 300. Attended what being grateful American means speaker. After speaker refugees. Who'd built businesses, veterans, who'd served students, who'd earned scholarships. Everyone said, same thing, we love America. Elderly Somali woman spoke, last arrived 96. Broken English, thick accent. I come with nothing. America, give me everything. My son is doctor. My daughter is teacher. I am American. I love America. Tears Ilhan Omar. She forget what we escape, she forget what America give us. She is ungrateful. Eruption of applause. Genuine, from the heart. Vance's approval soared. Favorability among independents jumped 12 points. Veterans, 23 first-generation, immigrants, 18. 3 months later, Omar announced she wouldn't seek re-election. I want to spend time with family and focus on activism. Translation. She couldn't win internal polling, down 32 points to the Somali American Marine. The Marine won primary with 67% general election. Was formality. He won easily. Victory speech. I'm grateful to America. This country gave my family refuge, gave me education, gave me opportunity. I will spend every day in Congress, honoring that gift. I will serve America, not Somalia, not any religion, not any ethnicity. America, because I'm American, and there's no higher honor, minute-long standing ovation. Omar watched from her expensive D.C. apartment, the one with the pet spa. Outside, small group of protesters stood silently. We remember 2,977 terrorists murdered Americans, grateful refugees, love America, Robert Smith, never forget. And one more elderly man in USMC. Cap. Thank you, VP Vance. The privileged refugee met the son of Appalachia. Entitlement met earned success. Ingratitude met service. And America decided which deserved power. The evidence won. The truth won. America won. The refugee princess met the Marine Special. Treatment meant hard work. Divided loyalty met American first. And the receipts won. J.D. Vance didn't destroy Ilhan Omar with rhetoric. He destroyed her with her own words, her own votes, her own financial records, her own statements, her own actions, evidence, documents, facts, truth that can't be spun. Some refugees came to America and said, "Thank you," worked 3 jobs, learned English, raised kids to be American, served in military, built businesses, gave back to the country that saved them. Some refugees came and said, "You owe me more exploited connections," paid families with campaign funds, lived in luxury, representing poverty, criticized the country constantly. While praising the one they left, Ilhan Omar showed us which kind she is. This isn't about all refugees. Refugees who love America are heroes. Refugees who serve America are patriots. Refugees who build America are success stories. This is about one person who received everything and gave back nothing but criticism and contempt. This is about accountability. This is about gratitude. This is about one refugee who forgot what fleeing war means and what safety costs. If you think representatives should love the country they represent, share this. If you think campaign funds shouldn't enrich family members, share this. If you think some people did something dishonors 2,977 victims, share this. If you think divided loyalty has no place in Congress, share this. If you believe gratitude matters, share this everywhere. Drop an American flag if you stand with 9/11 families who demanded answers. Drop fire if you're done with ungrateful politicians. Drop a salute if you're a veteran who served the country. Omar criticizes. Drop a heart if you're a grateful immigrant who loves America. Share this story with everyone. Tag your representatives. Make them answer. Do they stand with evidence and accountability, or excuses and deflection? Because if we don't demand gratitude from those we give refuge, we'll get more Ilhan. Omar's and America deserves better share. Now, the evidence is public, the truth is out, make sure everyone sees it. The refugee princess had her reckoning. Now, America decides, do we reward gratitude or grievance? Do we honor those who build up America or tear it down? The choice is yours. Share this story. Spread the truth. Demand better, because some people did something on September 11th. Islamic terrorists murdered 977 Americans. And we will never forget. We will never minimize. We will never let anyone call it anything less than what it was. An act of war, terrorism, murder. Say their names, remember their sacrifice, honor their memory, and demand that everyone who serves in American government loves America. First, share this story. Share it now. Share it everywhere. The truth won today. Make sure it wins tomorrow.